Hello and welcome back to the Stormreach Marketplace on what is a bright sunny day in the game, but perhaps a stormy day brewing in the background as we are on the day of the release of Update 70, a significant change in the way the game handles the repeating crossbow and dual shooting crossbow, so quite an impact on the play of the ranged Arti and the Inquisitive. For those of you not in the know, this update has brought about quite a noticeable reduction in the attack speed of these two, with the aim of reducing lag in general. The one quest I tried just now, there was no lag, but maybe just because the server's just restarted. And also a lot less instances of bullets going missing, which was a positive. But the attack speed, to say, sort of feels like early to mid heroic. This is a legendary capped character. I don't think I would be understating it. It's a dramatic change, and even on when Fusillade is going, the Fusillade, it just lasts such a short time. And yeah, you don't get that spiky output anymore. I get what they're saying about the server can't keep up, but that was the whole, the whole meat and potatoes of the build, if you will, to have that spiky damage when you needed it. And now I don't know. I'll let you see for yourselves. We'll go through the I've just respec'd the tree, so I need to put these things back in here where they were. We'll go through the whys and wherefores in a second. It's an unfortunate timing, all this, because some of the things that I've mentioned as big positives of the Arti, not least the early power that you get, right out of the gate. I remember using this exact phrase, right out of the gate. You're off and running, not having to wait around like a caster might, messing about with hirelings or swinging weapons. None of that with the Arti. Well, now, based on the attack speed I'm seeing at the cap here, I worry about what we're going to see down at the basement, and I think it's in danger of making one of the play styles that was before, a decent leveling character for people who liked ranged. I think it's in danger of turning people off that. So they've achieved this drastic reduction in speed by cutting the effects of things like rapid shot and rapid reload, all that kind of stuff. But they've given the class its full double shot, both for Inquisitive and the repeating crossbows. We have the full double shot now. So Red's sitting here on 116 double shot. But down at the basement level in early heroics, double shot you hardly have any, so it's definitely not going to make up for that reduction in the speed. That's the one of the two big concerns people have. The other one, which I think is totally justified based on my testing, they've taken away shot speed and shots in general, because the expanded clip now no longer gives you an extra shot. You have 33% double shot instead while using a repeater, which, while nice, still doesn't make up for the missing shot if you are trying to trigger, as many do at the cap with these builds, any number of favourable effects that you get. So this kind of dovetails into any of the Shiradi effects, the blindness there, the extra chance to deal light damage, the random 7% effects there. As well, there is the nerve venom that can trigger the paralysis, and on our weapon we have a dino weapon with ice on it, and the Fear Eater augment, all these things have effectively been nerfed because they have less chance to take effect now with the lower rate of fire and less shots being fired. So that's an unfortunate byproduct of the lowering of the speed. What else was I going to say about it? I think we'll just go ahead and go straight into the demonstration. That was the main things I've already said. It is very, very noticeable. I mean, I've made it even more so by having this patience feat, 10% reduction in attack speed. So I'm kind of doing the developer's job for them, and I'll say I chose that to protect the servers from lag. I think, well, in the old system, while I was fusilading all the time, something like that didn't really matter because I was still spitting out the bullets faster than the server could count them. Whereas now, maybe that is really hurting me, and maybe that's why I'm noticing it even more sluggish than what other people are noticing. I guess we'll have to see when other people see it. If any of you out there have got an Arti or an Inquisitive, please chime in the comments about your feelings and whether you think you'll continue on with the class. It's just dropped, unfortunate, as I've said, because it's in the middle of well, towards the back end of our Arti series here, and so much of the good stuff that I'd been showing off is, well, either gone altogether or changed. I mean, I can't imagine that the early leveling experience now will be anything like what we experienced at the start of this series, which was well, maybe you could argue the class was a bit too dominant early on, but that was always one of the nice selling points, and then it kind of leveled off later, you know, against other classes. Let's go into a quest and see how we stack up. I mean, the single biggest thing I noticed in the one I tested, I don't expect to complete this, by the way. Red on Reaper 6 before was definitely a struggle. I'm just using it as a bit of a demo. Yeah, the single biggest thing I've noticed is the lack of ability to fight back in a tight situation. That fusillade boost, when, I mean, the whole build was built around it really, and to trigger it, and well, see what you folks think, but to me, when I trigger it, I am used to things spitting out and mowing things down. It's not at all like that anymore, just not at all. So see what you think. The AoEs should be okay. I forgot to mention that, didn't I? So in the plus column, they've given a little bit of double shot in there, so 5% in the second core, just to kind of alleviate some of the early struggles, but I think not enough. And then these two AoEs now, they were doing 30% extra damage. They're both doing 50 now. But bear in mind they're shooting one shot less because our expanded clip doesn't give you an extra shot anymore.
You emerge from the jungle into an open clearing, only to spot a figure.
For those of you who haven't seen it yet, prepare for a shock. The fire rate change is very significant. This is something else as well that's a problem. Well, that is more difficult. It's more difficult to stack the archer focus than it was before because you have a slower rate of fire, obviously.
The door opens into an extensive system of stone caverns.
So we're not seeing, well, we are still seeing blindness, which we should. 1 in every 4 shots should cause blindness with no save. But the other effects, the ice and the paralysis, we're not seeing so much of, are we there? As mentioned, my choice of feet is making it slower still than it should be, but this can only be described as sluggish, can't it, compared to what was previously going on. So we do still have that nice single shot power to down a Reaper and such like. The 2 single target, the Plucker String and the Hunt's End, still very much effective on the single targets, but I will show you in a minute. Oh, he's really got us, hasn't he, the Fear Reaper. Just wait for those stacks to go, I think. I'll show you the boost. So 109 save for our 2 special attacks, so not terrible.
The door opens, revealing a lush waterfall. Twisting paths lead deep into the dense jungle.
I think maybe it could be argued the results overall are fairly similar, but the manner of achieving the results. So I think what that means is whenever you have something right in your face and you would really rather see to get you out of that horrible situation, you just can't do that anymore. This is the best we can do. I'll show you the boost here. See, that's one thing they've mentioned as well. There is a discernible pause now in between volleys, even when fusillade is going. So it's pause. And that's it. So that was another point I was going to make. I mean, that's so short and it seems to do, so relatively little compared to what it used to do. I would like to see, as well as the extra rate of fire, something like was it like the old many shot used to do? Extra double shot based on something, or a longer duration maybe, because it just seemed, yeah. I'm underwhelmed by how the new Fusillade is performing, but I'll say again, on the plus side, we are not having shots going missing or anything like that. I'll tell you what I want to do in the near future, if possible, to take him into a raid and see how that fares, because I've been in things like Hunt and Hunted with him in the past, and I've been trying my hardest to shoot the trash around the edges, and just nothing's been happening, and it was so frustrating. Like banging many shots into the same target and nothing, just nothing. And after a while you just get to thinking, well, so I mean, if I could go in and just get some to hit the target, that would be a net positive in the raids. So I'll be interested to see how that goes on, and to hear from any of you who might try that, because I'm sure, like me, I'm sure there's some of you out there with these ranged builds who've just hit the boost and had absolutely nothing happen, shots going into thin air. So if you see an improvement, I'd be glad to know. I am of course going to test it on my side too. I think in terms of the content, the level of content that Red can or can't do, it's broadly speaking going to be the same. 4 he could do a lot of on his own, Reaper 4, legendary, and the 6 he was reasonably capable. I mean, bear in mind this is sort of a low legendary 6, it's earlier content. He was reasonably capable, but also very prone to death in that content. So this is kind of tallying with what I would expect him to be able to. I am sorry about the crowd control stuff though, and I'm wondering if there might be a different way now, a better way maybe to take these builds moving forward, because I don't know if I've mentioned it already, I did a couple of aborted recordings that I made a complete mess of. The change to the mechanics with all this obviously has a big impact on the influence the epic moment has, because again, lots of bonus things triggering on shot. Well, you're firing a lot less shots, your fusillade is pretty toothless now, so triggering a fusillade and that epic moment, it's not doing nearly as much for you. I guess maybe on the other side of that we could argue that if the server's not picking up half the bolts you're firing, then maybe we're still in the same situation we were before. I don't know. I think we can all agree we'd like to see a less laggy game. What there's been in the last couple of weeks, I can't comment for you folks, but from what I'm reading on the forum, it's been pretty bad for everybody. And that was a timely freeze. I would love to see an improvement in that, because it's been, well, to use the right word, shocking. As bad as I ever remember from when I joined the game a good number of years ago. So if we can have even an alleviation of that would be nice. I mean, I don't know how long, because I'm only recently joined with a few of the raids, but the impression I got was that it was just almost unbearable in those, and people were joining them, you know, just to try and squirrel a bit of loot out, not because they found it in any way particularly fun, because they weren't. The last skeletons in the closet I did, the thing basically froze for everybody towards the end, and we were left thinking, well, have we all wiped out here, or were we successful? And then sort of 20 seconds later, all the enemies disappeared from the screen and the completion goblet appeared, and I thought, oh, okay. But it's not really the way I would choose to play a raid. It's certainly not been fun, that side of it. I think we can say there's been little, if any, lag here so far on this run, so that's great. Boosting again.
With the magical barrier dispelled, you can now explore deeper into the
Yeah, I think that's just distinctly lukewarm, isn't it? Compared to how it used to be. Those would have been absolutely mown down by the old system. So you've lost that that spiky ability to really tear into a group of targets in times of trouble. We just do not have that now. And looking at the AoEs there, they're not amazing, are they? We could be in trouble here. That was a very timely trigger. I wonder if that situation is going to get better. I'd always said in the past, don't trigger the AoEs when either you or something else is moving. I kind of did it there, and it did get them both. So I wonder if that side of it at least is going to be somewhat improved. I guess as with
The
anything,
sound of a door
it's going to
rumbling
take
open
some
can be
adapting
heard
to,
from the
isn't it?
east.
But
One of the
my
fiercest
opening
lizard folk was
impression is
made
it's a huge difference, and one I'm not
creature
I'm
hisses
not
menacingly as you
particularly
approach. The creature emits a
not
guttural
particularly
groan
sure I'm going to
and
like.
collapses.
Maybe I'll wait for the forum sages to come up with some kind of alternatives to possibly rescue these builds and see what we can do. Because I did. There are many elements that I do like. I like the fact that this build has some things to give to a group, various things, you know, for the tank and for the melee and ranged party members in general. So I would be sorry to have to yeah, situations like that when you've triggered a group and there are several that have not fallen under your AoE, it's just not got the same potential for clearing things up quickly. Even when not boosting, I could have made serious inroads into that group, but now
An enormous cavern
not the
opens before
same.
you. A raised platform can be seen on the far side. You pull the lever, and a distant platform suddenly begins moving.
I think the saddest thing about this is the timing. I would have liked to have this at the very end of our Artificer series, but there's no accounting for the timing of the DDO updates, is there? Oh crikey, that was terrible. I don't trust those things, even though I'm supposed to have switched them off. Yeah, lag-wise, this is probably the least laggy game I have had for a long time. Whether that's coincidence, because because the servers just restarted, or maybe this change has really helped. I will say that I don't just play Arti. I have a druid caster and a purple who's nominally a warlock. So it's not just the fact that I'm playing, or I have played quite a bit of Arti that leads to or has led to all the lag. That wasn't bad. But yeah, I'm definitely noticing less crowd control effects going off from our special effects that we can trigger on hit. But let's try and remain neutral here. Even when moving around and when the enemies are moving, we're seeing a lot less stuff just going missing completely. And I know that was a source of, well, a great frustration for just about all of us who've played these builds. So if this is the way it has to be to mitigate that, then I guess this is how it has to be.
Giantish ruins dominate this
Oh,
large clearing.
lovely. Right, let's try and pick off all the other things around the Vengeance. We should be good at that.
Blocks exploration in that direction.
Beautiful. Well done, Red. Okay, what are you lot doing down there? Coming or going? Let's try not to grab two groups at once. Let's get this lot first if we can. I don't think they have a Reaper escort, so that would put them on the top of my list. That was the Fear Eater triggering over there. That's like a phantasmal killer display effect. Are you guys all dealt with now? Oh no. Oof. Yeah, I'm not mega impressed at the AoE. It doesn't seem to be
for you to come to the front gate.
single target, as you can see. One clip of the pluck of a string almost took out a Despair Reaper. That's on Reaper 6, so not terrible. Single target damage is definitely still there. It's just the time you take to do that damage, you are slower in general making your kills than before, because by the time your bow's reloaded and ready to hit another target, everything's kind of moved on. And that's why I think you're more susceptible to being overwhelmed with the way things are now, as opposed to how they were before.
To the hallway below.
Famine down there. Fear Reaper. I think I mentioned already I don't use IPS. That would have been a situation where it could have come in handy. People are calling for the 20% less damage, the IPS nerf, to be removed following these changes. I think it's fair to say, as the saying goes, the natives are restless. Oh, don't stand there like that in front of all those crowns. For those of you following the Artificer series, this will be the first time. I'm just not happy about having to show this now, because I had done some legendary recording. But you'll be seeing the various crowd control effects that we do have on the build at the cap. The freezing ice, which is on the weapon, and the paralysis, that green circle, which is the top tier of the Shiradi there. The blindness we've obviously seen before. Yeah, I think in the past those two attacks would have gone some way towards neutralizing that group completely, whereas now I'm noticing, because we're firing less shots, the incapacitating stuff is happening significantly less, and we're having to work a bit to mop up the remainder, which can then try and mop us up as well. Oh, vengeance, what a joy. I'm going to wait until the two things are off cooldown. I think we need to boost here, don't we? And this is one situation in which I'm very glad I do not have IPS. Now please tell me nothing else was in range to get that vengeance buff. I don't think you were you? No. I think this is the one. Oh no, not quite. There could be some traps on the floor somewhere around it. This is the one where you open the door and it's all behind you, isn't it? Don't just stand there and be shot at. For those of you following the Arti series, I've been experimenting with the Renegade Mastermaker tree. There's a significant amount of tankiness to be found in here, and I did do a recording following a nice post by one of the folk in the forums about going tier 5 in here, and there are some really nice things to be had. I look forward to you seeing that particular one. See what you think about it, but one of the standout things for me was this little lantern thing that follows you around. It's a bit like the bard's ticking heel in the song that they give you, except for us with the repair spell power it was better, and that single-handedly kept me alive through some of the laggier raids that I've been in recently. So I look forward to you seeing that one. Yeah, it's either me mistargeting and or the AoEs just aren't as effective anymore because we're not firing as many shots. However, on the plus side there, you saw what we did to that Despair Reaper when he came marching out. The single target damage is definitely still there, but the crowd control potential I think is more lacking now.
Into the central chamber.
It might just be that we have to start building just for raw damage instead of for these effects that could trigger. I'll be interested to read the forums and see what suggestions people have. So I definitely don't want to. I'm not going to leave the build behind without at least trying to make it work, because I've spent quite a bit of time and effort on getting Red up to speed with this.
The gate to the west slides open, clearing the way.
Totally incapable of keeping the conversation going and focusing on that puzzle. There'd have been no way. My rune arm, by the way, isn't capable of breaking anything or really doing anything much damage-wise, so that's why you don't see me using it. I'm having to use our AoE shots to break the containers. Now that's the first time, pretty much, that we more or less CC'd the whole lot there with one of those AoEs. So that was nice. I'm making a mess of this now. I think you saw the good and the bad there. we're so slow attack wise, although we're dealing, see there was a 10,000 damage in there, against a single target we still deal respectable damage, but we don't have that potential, you know, to go from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, so we can easily get overwhelmed. Which is not something that would happen to Red before.
Dunalanthia stands stiffly on the platform above. Her unnatural movements tell you that she's being magically compelled by the cultists surrounding her.
In your own time, people. Right, so we've got a couple of boosts. We've got the epic moment here. Trigger it all. So single target wise, even though I haven't triggered my boss beating weapon, you can see we're still doing a reasonable amount of damage against her. You can also see that the Arti's reconstruct spell is a potent weapon for, as is the shield, the radiant force field. Both are potent weapons in your armory for keeping you alive, even, you know, through the Reaper nerf. This reconstruct I can't show you now because we're not in combat, but it was giving us a nice chunk of health back. And I'm happy to say we actually reached the end. Okay, so the too long didn't watch version, I guess, would be speed and by definition as well the boost seriously nerfed. Single target damage roughly the same. Ability to deal with trash is, in my opinion, less now, just because the rate of fire is not allowing you to be as effective in those situations. But against an end boss, I'd forgotten to swap to the boss beating weapon there, and we did okay there with our epic moment running. So I think that would bear out people's comments in the forum about single target damage still being as good or better than it was. But it's the speed at which you're able to dispatch targets which is the problem now. It's and these AoEs, I don't remember them being as maybe I'm hoping for too much. I mean, it is Reaper 6, isn't it? So maybe I'm hoping for too much to clear a pack with those two AoEs. I was hoping for a bit more, given that they've boosted them up to 50% damage now. But not terrible, all in all. I mean, I think you've seen. I mean, if Fred can go through at that level, I mean, there's got to be potential for those of you significantly better players to contribute nicely still in the higher content. So all is not lost, but it's a definite change. It's going to take some getting used to. I'll be interested to see what the bear makes of it, because she's at the moment got her main character in this same build and she hasn't seen it yet, so I might do a little side video on that and document her comments as she discovers it all for the first time. Okay, I think I'll leave that there. Loath though I am to post this out of order, I think I'm going to make an exception here in the interests of airing views for the change just made today. Thank you very much as always for looking, and I will speak to you next time. Take care.